just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
How are we doing out there all across this great land of ours and around the world, coast to coast, and coming to you live right now out here from the old left coast, your host, mad prophet of the airways, John Matthews, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate. And we want to start the show off again just letting you know that my co-host, partner in crime, Joe Hakos, is taking the week off. He's been feeling under the weather and has some tests run and stuff. So he's just busy taking care of his health. And so he will be back with us next week. And again, our prayers go out to you, my friend Joe, and your family. And we look forward to having you back next week. Now, having said that, we're going to begin our annual top 20 or top 10 quotes. I've got to explain this because in the past, what we've always done towards the end of the year, usually the last two shows of the year, in this case today and tomorrow, what we normally do is we post the top 10 liberal quotes, and then we post the top 10 conservative quotes over the course of a couple days. I think one year it even took us 3 or 4 days because we wanted to I give the quotes and then we talk about what brought the quote about or our response to it, that kind of thing. And but this year I did something a little bit different. This year we're going to come out tonight with the top 20 liberal quotes. And the reason I've done that is that we're going to be combining the GOP establishment quotes, people that have come out and said things representing the GOP establishment, which in my opinion now represents the same thing as the Democrat Party or the leftist progressive movement. So it's going to be a combination. So you're going to hear some names that normally in the media get associated with conservatism, but we know truthfully and honestly that conservatism is not what they represent. And so we've combined them, we've identified them as they really are, jackasses in elephant skins. And so that's what we're going to be doing tonight. Don Dix from Act for America will be joining me in the second hour for his weekly segment where we'll continue our discussion or our listing of the top liberal quotes for 2015. I've picked out 20 of them that I think are very representative of the cross-section of liberalism, progressivism, and above all, just more than anything, just continue to illustrate and just how idiotic Democrats are. And in the words of my good friend Evan Sayet, not that liberals are wrong, they are as wrong as can be. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight. So I hope you enjoy it. It's entertainment, but it's also very reflective of what has happened or what is happening across this great land of ours known as the United States of America. Now, before I do that, though, I have a couple things that I wanted to talk about that are kind of like a preamble or a prelude to us getting into the top 20 liberal quotes of the year. And it has to do with attitude and perception and just very indicative of why, I get this question so many times from people is what's wrong with America? Earlier today I was on the Jiggy Jaguar show again. They asked James Lowe, who was the host of the Jiggy Jaguar show, asked me to come on and help him close out the 2015 with him. And, some of the questions he was directing at me had to do with, what did you see this year as the top story? What do you think the main problem is? And what do you think we're going to see in 2016? I get a lot of those questions across the spectrum, that a lot of people in some cases are still trying to figure out what's going on. Some of us have figured out what's going on and just wondering if it's the beginning of the end. Some of us wonder or worry that we're not going to be able to turn this thing around. It's a combination of all different types of things out there, and rightfully so. And I don't really have any cut and dry answer. I can't tell you where the country is going to be a year from now. I can tell you that if it continues in the direction it's going, we're not going to be in a very good place. But if America really wakes up and really kind of figures out what's happening, and we begin to reverse this trend, well, this time next year, we could all be feeling pretty good about things that are going on. But I just want to highlight something that just came out today, and it's very demonstrative, very illustrative of what the main problem in America is today. A lot of people want to blame the Republicans. A lot of people want to blame the Democrats, and people want to blame the conservatives, or they want to blame the progressives. They want to blame the religious. They want to blame the atheists. It just depends on what side of the aisle you're on. Well, I happen to believe, and I continue to promote this belief, contend it every chance I get now, is that the problem with America today is America. It's not the Republicans. It's not the Democrats. It's not Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton. It's not Ted Cruz. It's not Donald Trump. It's not John Boehner. It wasn't John Boehner. It's not Paul Ryan. It is the American electorate. There's two parts of this electorate that I'm talking about. One is the part of the electorate that has decided that politics is so sticky and yucky and so boring or disheartening or depressing that they just stay home and they just bury their heads in the sand, or maybe even watch the news and bitch at the TV set. But they don't get up and do anything. They don't become part of the solution, and they certainly don't vote. And a lot of that has led to this idea, as I covered yesterday, both political parties really work that aspect of the electorate as trying to keep people from voting, trying to keep people so frustrated and everything that they just stay home and they don't do anything, and they just watch from their television sets or their internet screens as our country, our great republic, implodes. And they just hope that it doesn't affect them. Well, that's not only blind, it's idiocy. Because whatever happens to the rest of us is going to certainly happen to them. But then there's this other aspect of those who are involved and are either underinformed, misinformed, or non-informed, and participate in the process, the electoral process. And I noticed today, as soon as I got up this morning, started up the old computers here and got them all tuned in and started scanning through stuff, what we were going to do today. What do I find? At the very, very first article that pops up is a Gallup poll has determined that Hillary Clinton is ranked once again the most admired woman in the U.S. for a record 20th year. So this just off the top, just that headline alone tells me, or indicates to me, reveals to me, that whatever has been the problem in America has been with us for quite a while. We're talking about 2 decades. This woman has been chosen as the most admired woman in America. 14 of the 20 years, or 20 years, for the 20th year, 14 of them in a row. The last 14 consecutive years, Hillary Clinton has been chosen in a poll by Gallup to be the most admired woman in America. Now think about that. I want you to think about that as we go to our commercial break. I'm looking at a report, Michael Walsh, came out of Yahoo, and he starts out by saying Gallup says 13% of the participants mentioned the former Secretary of State when asked what woman or man that you have heard or read about living today in any part of the world do you admire most, and who is your second choice? Now, Eleanor Roosevelt had been chosen in this poll 13 times. Today, as of today, the 14th consecutive year for Hillary Clinton at 13%. Only 13% selected her. But that's still the top of the poll. That means that the division between everybody else went to other women. Now, 13% in a poll of 100% is not a lot, but 13% as a majority in this case, and I'm going to go into detail on this just after we get back from the break here, because some of the other names on here are just as indicative of the point I'm going to be trying to drive home with you today, and that is we the people are the problem. It's not the politics. It's we the people who have allowed the politics to become and dictate to us and determine what we think and believe and either drive us into submission and silence or drive us crazy by getting out there and trying to do something about it and being labeled fanatics and extremists and haters and homophobes and everything else. So we're going to talk about that when we get back. We're going to our first commercial break. Stay with us. This is the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Listening to none other than the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with my co-host, Joe Hakos, is off this week. He'll be back next week, and we just wish Joe well as he recovers a little under the weather, and we wish the best for him and speedy recovery, my friend. Okay, now let's get back to what we were talking about just before the break, and I'm bringing to the surface. I guess the best way to put it is, for me, the real reason why we find ourselves today in the position that we find ourselves. It has everything to do with what's going on in terms of people don't want to talk about the political world and all the politics and everything because it's too messy, too stinky and dirty. But yet they'll sit by and idly watch as this very same element or this very same mechanism that's in place right now just slowly grinds our country into powder and puts us in a position where we're really, really, really have some things that we're going to have to deal with, especially, I think, next year. I think next year is going to be a key year in our election cycle as to when it's going to determine whether or not we recover and turn this country back to the greatness that it was, or we continue the death spiral and the decline, and we just head towards the abyss. I mean, there's no positive way of really putting this. But and I'm mentioning here this article that came out by Michael Walsh, I believe it's at Yahoo, reporting that Gallup has just conducted their annual Most Admired Men and Women of the Year. And Hillary Clinton, for the 14th consecutive year, has ranked as the top most admired woman in America. Now, only 13% of the people polled chose Hillary Clinton, but it was 13% was a higher percentage than other people in the poll. Now, I'm willing to concede that perhaps part of that is due to the fact that Hillary probably gets more airtime than everybody else in terms of media and stuff like that. Now, in a day and age where media, Twitter and Facebook and stuff is a main way that people communicate, well, we can look at that and we see the viability in that. I'm sure there's more tweets going out about Hillary Clinton every day than there is about anybody else. But then in the other aspects of the media, when you talk about television especially, there are other women out there that are viewed probably in much larger audiences and are much more recognizable. For instance, other people that made this list were human rights leaders, Malala Yousafzai, I can't pronounce the last name. I'm not even sure who this woman is, or Aung San Suu Kyi, which sounds Chinese, and human rights leaders, okay, probably fighting for human rights in their respective countries, or maybe over here, representing their respective countries. But then we have talk show hosts like Oprah Winfrey and Ellen DeGeneres, and these are considered to be admired women by women or people who were interviewed. It doesn't say whether it was just a cross-section of just women. It could have been men and women, but the point being is that some of the more controversial or politically correct women out there have made this list. Of course, there was others Senator Elizabeth Warren, our resident commie in Congress right now. Carly Fiorina made the list, which I find surprising considering how many liberal women do not like her. But again, even German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who New York Times selected as Woman of the Year or Person of the Year, former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, and former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin. So there is a mix. There is a cross-section here being represented. But the point I'm getting at here is that 13%, it was enough to elevate Hillary Clinton to a 14th consecutive year as most admired woman in America. Now, on the other side of the coin, President Obama was named the most admired man living anywhere in the world by a large margin. 17% said he was the most admired man. Pope Francis and Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump were tied for second place at 5%. And then other men in the top 10 included George W. Bush and Bill Clinton, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who's running for president on the DNC side right now, retired neurosurgeon Ben Carson, and religious leaders the Dalai Lama and Reverend Billy Graham. So it's not so much that there isn't a cross-representation here. There obviously is. And it doesn't really take a lot to win this poll, apparently. 13% for Hillary Clinton and 17% for Barack Obama, with everything else being split up between the other people mentioned. But the point being is that to be admired like this, to take a poll like this and be admired, when on the other hand, what we hear from America is that people like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are the most mistrusted people. They're viewed in polls. I believe I covered this last week. I think it might have even been yesterday. Hillary Clinton, when asked to describe the top three words to describe Hillary Clinton was what? Dishonest, unethical, and corrupt. And yet, in light of that, she can still be deemed the most admired woman in America. Now, again, only 13% of the people polled said that, but that 13% was enough to put her at the top of the poll. Barack Obama, everybody knows this man, how deceptive and lying he is. He lies just like you and I talk about the weather. And most people will admit that. His job approval rating at 45%, but his popularity up around 60%. How is this? And this is the big question to me. This is what is driving this country in the direction it's going. And this, if not reversed, is what will lead to the eventual decline and implosion of our system of government and the life that we've come to treasure so much as Americans. Our freedom is at stake here. Because if we allow these people that we, quote-unquote, admire, who are deceptive, corrupt, and liars, to continue to control us and tell us and dictate to us what our rules of functioning are, we have a major problem before us, because they're not, sooner or later, they're not going to be admired by us, but we're not going to have any say-so in what happens after they take everything over. See, nobody will be asking us anymore who we admire the most. The media will be putting out every year that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are the most admired with a 98.9% approval rating, because the people that will be asked will the people that work for them. That kind of thing. And if you happen to be a dissident and somebody that doesn't think they're great, well, you could end up from anywhere from having your internet cut off to maybe having your head cut off. So this is why the reason I'm talking about this is because when we get into our top 20 quotes here, if you really put these things in context, I'm going to try to put these quotes into context for you, and as you listen to them, you will see the idiocy of the people. And it should make you reflect, what about the idiocy of the American public that put these people in positions of leadership, in positions of influence? Why do we consider these people to be the most admired if they are the dumbest, most corrupt, most inept, and most unethical people that are walking around the streets of our country today? That's a question that needs to be asked. That is the whole purpose of this exercise. It's not just to bash. It is to try to bring to the surface the underlying problem with America is America. that we have become so comfortable, so blind to the fact that our republic is on the verge of demise, that we just continue to look the other way and just think there's no way that can happen. I consider a very close friend who constantly is trying to get across to me that don't worry about it. You know, America will just by course of action reverse itself. It will adjust, it will adapt, and it will remain America as it is. No, that is not going to happen if it continues down the path that it's going today. Because history shows us that when a country and its government becomes corrupt, there can be only one of two results: tyranny or destruction. And that destruction comes from imploding, not exploding. It doesn't come from without, it comes from within. And we have to be we have to pay particular attention to that. Now, having said that, let me get into our top 20 here. And what I did with this, the way I put this thing together, let's see, let me get it up here in front of me here so I can sound somewhat intelligent as I'm talking about it. What I did here was I went through a lot of things, a lot of lists. There's some other lists that are out there. There's a whole lot of information out there, and I went through the course of either my memory, things that I remember during the course of the year. I thought, oh, God, this is just idiotic, or finding something out on the internet that rang my bell, and I said, oh yeah, I remember that. Or, gee, I didn't even hear that before, but boy, that sure is appropriate for our list. Now, so you're going to find on this list, it's our top 20 liberal quotes, or as I've renamed it, the top 20 liberal/rhino quotes. Just so you understand that when you hear names that are not normally associated with the progressive movement or progressive ideology, several of them are actually running on the Republican ticket or trying to get nominated on a Republican ticket, are no way, shape, or form Republicans or conservatives, and they made my top liberal list. And so you'll understand when you hear the names why, when I put things in context for you. Now, at number 20 is Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is 82 years old, day older than dirt, and it's a very liberal-leaning Supreme Court justice. Makes no attempt to hide her activism, that she believes that things should be dictated from the bench, legislated from the bench. Many of her arguments are based on what she thinks is right rather than what the Constitution says. And so she made my list because you might remember, during the State of the Union message, I believe this was in February of this year, the cameras caught Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg nodding off during Barack Obama's State of the Union message. And people were wondering if it was because of her age. Is she just so old that she needs to be put away in that old Supreme Court justice home and bring in some fresh, new liberal blood? But what it turns out is that she had drinking some wine. She had gone to dinner, and fellow Justice Anthony Kennedy had brought a nice bottle of red wine to accompany a meal that they had that, as she said, was so delicious it needed wine. And so her quote says, "At least I wasn't 100% sober." What she did was she revealed, when she was asked and questioned why she was nodding off, is that she was a little tizzy. She was a little, she had a buzz going. Let's put it that way. She had a buzz going, and it caused her to nod off. She wasn't intoxicated. I'm not going to say she was. It's just the wine kicked in, and she dozed off. And so the quote number 20 in our list is, "At least I wasn't 100% sober." Not that I was stone drunk or anything else, but at 82 years old, or 81 at the time this happened, at 81 years old, I guess a glass of wine or two can do a number on you. I would not doubt that. I'm 61 years old. Somebody hands me during the Christmas season, I will drink brandy and eggnog sometimes, and one of those will kind of just, because of my metabolism at this age and my age and everything, you get a little buzz with a little bit of alcohol. But I just thought that was so indicative of the fact that perhaps we have some Supreme Court justices that if they can't hold a glass of wine, probably shouldn't be sitting on the bench listening to arguments because you wonder if they're even able to comprehend or digest what's being said. Now, number 19 goes into the ridiculous. And you're going to hear a lot of that as I go through the list here. Number 19 in our top liberal quotes, of course, comes from none other than Kanye West, America's version of what money can do. You know, Roseanne Barr once referred to herself as white trash with money. Kanye West is Black Lives Matter with money. The mentality, there is none. Here's a man that is such a legend in his own mind. He actually refers to himself as Jesus. And I guess at the Video Music Awards this year, he was heard saying, as you probably could have guessed by this moment, I have decided in 2020 to run for president. Kanye West is determined to run for president in 2020. And which makes it even funnier is some serious presidential leadership or political leadership think it's a great idea. They think, yeah, Kanye West should run for president in 2020 or could run for president in 2020. It might not be a bad idea. Now, I want you to imagine Kanye West in the White House with Kim Kardashian as our first lady and their kids named after compass directions, and a man who has no problem writing songs and music that demean women and telling us that he's an artist and a Christian. Boy, where have we heard that before? I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian man. He considers himself a Christian man because he finally got married. But nothing he does represents Christianity in any way, shape, or form. This man, I just want you to just envision it, if you can, for a moment. Kanye West in the White House. Think about that as we go to our next set of breaks, next set of commercials here. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. 866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Hey, we're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, Mad Prophet of the Airways, along with my co-host, Joe Hakels, who is off for the week. He'll be back next week with us and back to his old self. You can't handle the truth, Joe Hakels. So be back with us next week. All right, we're covering my top 20 liberal/rhino quotes of the year. I clarified this at the beginning of the show, that we are combining the moderate element of the GOP party as part of our liberal quotes because they're basically two sides of the same coin. We started out with number 20, which was Ruth Bader Ginsburg, with her "At least I wasn't 100% sober," confessing that she'd had a glass of wine at a dinner just before the State of the Union address and caused her to nod off. Of course, number 19, Kanye West announcing his intent to run for president in the year 2020. Boy, that's exciting. That's something that really try to wrap your head around that. Kanye West in the White House, Kim Kardashian as our first lady. Just take a moment there. It would give a new meaning to the word. Well, I'm not going to go there. Number 18 on our list comes from everybody's favorite Pope, Pope Francis. He published this in his encyclical letter, a letter that he issues out, I guess, amongst the church, Laudato Si, which I guess is Latin for letter. I don't know Latin. No, I don't remember Latin. I studied it years ago, decades ago, but I don't know what this means. But Pope Francis reiterated in comments about climate change during a visit with President Obama on September 23rd of this year. He went through 3 cities in America, and those crowds were in the thousands and had pundits calling him a rock star. Pope Francis, the rock star. It kind of stirs up in me that old movie Superstar, the one with Molly, what's her name? The one on Saturday Night Live that dresses like the Catholic schoolgirl. I don't even remember, but that's what I envision all of a sudden. That's kind of sick, but that's what the vision I have in my mind. Anyways, his quote: "Scientific studies indicate that most global warming in recent decades, I want you to pay attention to the wording here. Scientific studies indicate that most global warming in recent decades is due to the great concentration of greenhouse gases released mainly as a result of human activity. Scientific studies indicate that most global warming in recent decades is due to the great concentration of greenhouse gases released mainly as a result of human activity." Now, I could play with the words human activity for hours, but I'm wondering what he means by that. Is human activity breathing? I mean, we breathe out carbon dioxide, we breathe in oxygen, and we breathe out carbon dioxide. And are you trying to tell me, Pope Francis, that that's the human activity, the breathing, that there's too many people breathing? Too many humans breathing, maybe as a result of the anti-abortion stance that the Catholic Church holds? I don't think so, because most Catholics probably don't adhere to that anymore. But you get the irony of it if that's what we're talking about. But I'm sure what the Pope was talking about is that human activity means the things that humans are doing, like making money, running industries to make money. Capitalism is the problem. If we weren't so capitalistic, then perhaps we wouldn't be undertaking such activity as to create this excess green gas, which is destroying the ozone layer and causing global warming. Now, the other aspect of this I want to talk about real quick. Scientific studies indicate that most global warming in recent decades, so it was like, okay, so what has happened in before these recent decades? What's happened to the 6,000 years that man has inhabited this planet? Well, of course, the coal industry is responsible for it, of course. But wait a minute, haven't we always had coal? Haven't we always burned coal for heat and for energy? Wasn't the Tower of Babylon made out of asphalt? That's what mortar was. It was asphalt. That's made with oil. But here's my point. Scientific studies. This is one. See, Pope Francis has bought into the hoax that what scientific studies are indicating through models that are theoretically based and not proven. They are hypotheses. Hypotheses that have been built on theories and models that have been built based on these hypotheses. And we know that there has been many of these models that have been skewed to produce numbers. Skewed to produce the numbers to fit the model rather than the model producing the numbers. And we know there's been several scandals on that. When Barack Obama first came into office and he went to Copenhagen, hoping to land Copenhagen for the Olympics, or getting the Olympics here, and Copenhagen is the one that ended up with him, I believe. I don't remember. He was in Copenhagen trying to get Chicago selected as the Olympic site for the next Olympics and didn't do it. During that stay, it came to light that some of the authors of these major reports, the ICCC, had skewed their numbers for the purpose of manipulating the models to produce the results that they wanted for two reasons: for the political agenda of driving this new political agenda, which was equated to a new economy. This is what Barack Obama's on, the Al Gore climate change bandwagon, because it's going to create a new economy. We're going to replace coal and gas and everything else with renewable energy, wind-powered solar plants and all the other stuff that they want to do. And these reports were manipulated for that purpose, to support the political agenda behind climate change and to continue to raise money to study climate change. So you got to have money, you got to have grants to produce these models. So you change the models, you manipulate the models. The other aspect of this, I want to be really clear on this, because we covered this in the show years ago, actually, probably 2 or 3 years after we first came on the air in 2007. So it was around 2008, 2009. I know I remember doing this. I went through and read most of these reports, and there's not one of these scientific studies that Pope Francis is referring to that states unequivocally, without a shadow of a doubt, that global warming is something that has been produced by man. They're not even sure they can call it global warming. That's why now it's called climate change. The reason they call it climate change is because the global warming that was supposed to have burned us up by now, according to Al Gore, has produced record snowfall and blizzards in other parts of the country. So it's no longer global warming because they can't justify snow drifts and snow blizzards in parts of the country that normally don't get snow to the degree that they're getting it now. So they've changed it to climate change. So the climate change hoax, from global warming to climate change, based on scientific studies that have been manipulated by the very people that have completed the studies for the purpose of garnering money for grants and supporting a political agenda, which leads to something I've referred to in this show several times, deconstructive, I'm sorry. Oh, geez, now I can't even think of the word. The creative destruction. That's the word I'm thinking of. Creative destruction. The redistribution of wealth and the creation of a new aristocratic society by redistributing wealth in one particular or more areas of industry or economics to another. To go from coal to renewable energy creates a new class of wealthy. And it's being perpetrated by the very people that say the wealthy are the problem with the world. The wealthy is the problem with the world because it's not their wealth. If they had that wealth, of course, everything would be better. That's what I'm getting at here. So we're going to go to a break here, and when we come back, we'll hit on to our next number 17 on our list of top 20 liberal/rhino quotes. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. And
we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, Mad Prophet of the Airways. I want to remind everybody, you can pick this show up about an hour, 2 hours from now after we get off the air. And go to our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, and you can pick the show up there. Share it with your friends. You know, have fun with this. This is not really, you know, I may be browbeating a little bit here, but this is really about just understanding the nature of the beast out there, the progressive beast out there that just are legends in their own mind and think that they just have the answer to everything, and it's comical. If it wasn't so perverse and doing such damage to the country, it would really be great material for Saturday Night Live, which some of it actually is when you get around to it. They do spoof some good stuff once in a while. Anyway, so we're talking about the top 20 liberal/rhino quotes, and I've only gotten through 3 of them, actually. I'm taking my time here. Don Dix from Acts for America will be with us in the next hour, probably when we get towards closer to the top 10. and we're going to have some fun with that. So number 17 just happened just a couple of weeks ago. If you were paying any attention and watched the Miss Universe pageant, I, by force, had to watch it. My wife wanted to watch it because the favorite, or one of the people that has been getting a lot of press, was Miss Philippines. And so my wife, being Filipino, wanted to watch it. And some of you know, I've mentioned on this show, I watch Philippines, politics in the Philippines, probably as much as I watch here in the United States. Maybe not quite as much, but enough that I know what's going on. So it's a big deal over there. These kind of things are a big deal over there. Manny Pacquiao and beauty contests. It's a big deal in the Philippines. Now, during the Miss Universe pageant, which, if you remember, Steve Harvey flubbed the announcement and had given a crown to Miss Colombia, when in actuality had been Miss Philippines, because apparently he didn't know that first runner-up meant first runner-up. And by reading it, his interpretation of first runner-up was that she was the winner. So he misread the card and had to come out after the woman had been crowned, had been given the sash, was already doing her hand-waving, getting ready to walk the aisle, and it was revealed by Steve Harvey that he had messed up. Well, that's not the quote. That's not the quote I'm looking at. It was prior to that when co-host Rosalind Sanchez was trolling amongst the judges. You know, before they go to commercial break, they were talking to the judges about certain things. And she asked blogger and TV personality Perez Hilton, leader of one of the leaders of the LGBT gay movement, and he has made a fortune being a representative of the LGBT community, and he was dressed in Pajama Boys. I guess he stole Pajama Boys' pajamas and turned it into some kind of suit. I mean, if you got to check a picture of this guy out, it was just comical. But anyway, Perez Hilton was asked by Rosalind Sanchez what it was like, or what the difference was between judging between a Miss USA pageant, which Perez Hilton apparently participates in, and Miss Universe. And Perez Hilton responded this way. Well, the two big differences is, one, a lot more people are watching Miss Universe, and number two, thankfully, Donald Trump no longer owns this pageant. So that was the great revelation from a man who, by the way, probably got his job as a judge through actions that lead directly to Donald Trump. If Donald Trump was the owner of the Miss Universe pageant, then he probably had a hand in who was being picked as the judges. So Perez Hilton shows us the audacity of today's progressive in biting the hand that feeds you. You probably wouldn't have had been selected as a judge on this panel, Perez, if in fact, indeed, Donald Trump was so homophobic that he didn't want any representation to the LGBT community. Donald Trump is smart enough to know that beauty pageants like Miss America and Miss Universe are highly rated and highly regarded amongst the LGBT community because everybody likes to dress up. Everybody likes to go to that extreme makeup and all that other stuff that those pageants do. So biting the hand that feeds them, and he had an opportunity to put himself out there and once again say something outlandish. But, of course, I bet his blog picked up a few 100,000 more hits than it did the day before. So that's number 17. Donald Trump no longer owns the Miss Universe pageant, and Perez Hilton thinks that's just great. Number 16. Number 16 comes from Ariana Grande. Now, I have to admit to you, I don't know who this girl is. I don't know because I don't follow today's music. That's what they call music. I'm not into hip-hop. I think rap and hip-hop are just atrocities. Probably the same way many of the generation before me thought Elvis Presley was from the devil. You know, I'm in that generation. Hip-hop and rap do nothing for me, and I find them to be demeaning. I don't even consider it music. It's just whatever it is. Okay, now, excuse me, but I don't know who this Ariana Grande is, but I assume she's some celebrity. And I think she has something to do with music because I'm just guessing here. I don't even know. I just know that she made the headlines in a donut shop on July 8th of this year. She was caught on video taking donuts off of trays and licking them, like tasting them, and then putting them back on the tray. And apparently when the donut shop maker or whoever was the employee there saw what was going on, he went and got a fresh tray of donuts to replace the ones that she had touched. And apparently it upset her. Maybe she thought that she doesn't have germs like everybody else. There's a progressive trait for you, okay? And her comment to him was, "What the F is that?" Expletive there. What the F is that? I hate Americans. I hate America. And this was all caught on tape. And I think I saw it, where I saw it was on TMZ. And I was at the gym. I remember seeing it. I was at the gym, and TMZ was one of the programs that was on the overhead monitor where the exercise bikes are, where I do my biking. And I remember seeing that. It was on a monitor like 3 or 4 down, and I was just kind of scanning them. It was during a commercial the show I was watching or whatever, and I happened to scan down, and I saw that. And so Ariana Grande, she then spent the next week, I guess, apologizing, telling everybody how much she loves America. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Kind of sounds like perhaps Michelle Obama. For the first time in my life, I'm really proud to be an American, and had to try to walk that one back, or she didn't walk it back, but all of the Obama supporters spent months. In fact, some of them are still trying to walk that comment back. So Ariana Grande makes her number 16. What the F is that? I hate Americans. I hate America. You know what? In most countries, Ariana, you wouldn't find a donut shop. So think about that, you little dweeb. All right, number 15. Before we got enough here to go to the break here. Number 15, and I told you this was going to have rhinos on it, goes to Jeb Bush. And the quote, this was during the first Republican debate when Jeb Bush was being questioned about whether he was just a clone of George W. Bush or perhaps even his father. The fact that we got another Bush running for the presidency and everybody was trying to equate him to his brother. And he said, in Florida, they call me Jeb because I earned it. I guess that's an allusion to the fact that he is called by his own name rather than Bush Jr., as George W. Bush is, because I earned it. They call me Vito Corleone. So he was called Jeb, I guess, by some, and he's called Vito Corleone by others. Well, I thought that's a pretty appropriate title, considering he is a member of probably one of the most influential political families and just as corrupt as anybody else out there, just as corrupt as Vito Corleone or Michael Corleone from The Godfather. So in this first Republican debate, he was trying to paint himself as his own man and trying to paint himself as a conservative. Jeb Bush. In Florida, they call me Jeb because I earned it. They call me Vito Corleone. That's number 15 in our top 20. It's time to go to the Edwards Notebook. We got to do that, and then we're going to pay some bills. We'll be back. Don Dix from Act for America will be joining us next hour. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. We got more for you.
The Black Lives Matter Gumps and Missouri protesters are making Stalin and Solonensky proud. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards on today's page from the Edwards Notebook. One of the methods of those seeking to fundamentally change America from the land of the free into the home of the oppressed is through public unrest and outright distortions of truth. The University of Missouri protesters purposely lied about so-called oppression from the white man and white privilege. So they decided to disrupt the campus learning environment and go on and on about racism. They were so effective that both the university president and chancellor resigned after the football players joined the protests, refusing to participate in games unless the president, Tim Wolf, resigned over racial tensions. One of the protesters even claimed that he grew up oppressed until it was discovered he comes from a wealthy family of privilege. Those Alinsky lackeys need to be met with the full resistance of those of us who are not ready or willing to simply allow our republic to be turned into a third world land of losers. We can start by seeing to it that the University of Missouri football players lose their athletic scholarships and go back home where they came from. I'm Ron Edwards.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
All you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Akos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The conservative syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
Hey, and we are back, and this is Hour 2 right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We're glad you took the time to join us this afternoon, and I hope you enjoy what we've done so far. We're going through our top 20 liberal/rhino quotes. As I indicated at the beginning of the show, since I no longer see any difference between Republicans and Democrats, we're going to combine them into one list, and therefore they're going to be a little bit more than normal. In terms of the numbers. Normally I do top 10 liberal, top 10 conservative. But since we're combining the rhinos with the liberals this year, the list increased to 20. And tomorrow we'll do the top 10 conservative quotes for the year for 2015. Now, I left off here, let's see, let me get back to my list here. I got to mention this. I was just looking here at the break here. An article flashed up on the on cyberspace out here. And, we've had this happen in the past where we've had college or high school kids get a little bit too rowdy, and we've had things lead to assault and, in this case, rape. I was looking at an article here, and when you read the title or the headline of the article, you think, okay, you got some kids here, some jocks that think, they can do whatever they want. 3 high school basketball players were charged with rape and assault in Gatlinburg, Tennessee today. So you look at that and you say, okay, yeah, here we go, another instance of jock mentality, which is, I can do whatever I want. This has got a weird twist to it. I'm just going to take a moment just to explain this to you. The weird twist is that these 3 high schoolers on the basketball team raped one of their teammates, another male. And that in and of itself I just find atrocious. They were at a tournament somewhere, and apparently in some kind of hazing incident, they raped their fellow teammate on the basketball team. Now, that in and of itself, like I said, is pretty outlandish. I mean, it's out there. It's not like what you normally read about in high school and colleges where sexual assault takes place, and it's usually men attacking women. These are 3 basketball, all under 18 years old, raping and assaulting one of their fellow teammates. And they've all been arraigned, but now here, I just want to, the reason I bring this up is not because of the perversion part of it. I want to highlight, as I was saying at the beginning of the show, the demeanor of society today that allows things or don't address incidences like this the way that we used to do this. And here it is. The statement said at the LeConte Medical Center that officers were called December 23rd, had been brought in by his basketball coach. I guess the coach was the one that found the child, and he went in and sought out the coach, whatever. It says that the boy was in Gatlinburg for a tournament with teammates from Ooltewah High School in Hamilton County. Athletic director Jesse Nadely told the Chattanooga Times Free Press, listen to this, the 3 older players involved in the apparent hazing incident have been dismissed from the team. Okay, that's the action that the school took. They dismissed the 3 older boys, so that indicates that the boy that was assaulted was younger than the 3. And the director goes on to say this, we can't give names because they're under 18 years of age. And since we're out of school for the holidays, we haven't met yet to determine how they'll be punished. But as far as athletically, these 3 young men are no longer part of the Ooltewah basketball team. Is that the worst you can do for somebody that assaults and rapes a fellow student or a fellow teammate or even anybody? Is dismiss them from the basketball team, and you can't determine what to do for punishment? There is That is so demonstrative of everything we've been saying over the past year on this show of the decline of morality in this country. Students and teachers no longer know what to do, or they willfully refrain from doing what they're supposed to do in an incident like this. Let me remind you what happened with Sandusky, the guy over at Penn State that was molesting boys. What did they do to him? Boy, that guy will never, I think he's dead now, but his family will never outlive what happened and what happened when he was out there molesting these boys. Here we've got men in the prime of their life doing something like this, and the only thing that's happened at this point in time is they were kicked off the team. And the school faculty can't determine what to do because they're on Christmas vacation. Now, I don't know how much worse it needs to get for people to wake up and realize there's something drastically wrong with our moral compass these days that we can't. These boys should have been arrested right off the top. Right off the top. But this is what happens when you start introducing promiscuity in high schools and elementary schools, the intermingling of bathrooms and all these other things. You are licensing people, young people who have not formulated the difference between right and wrong, regardless of what many people think. And these people are doing these kind of things, and nobody knows what to do. And I would just about bet you that nobody knows what to do because they're afraid of some political ramification should they come back and do something. Just think about that. We got to go to a quick break here. This is our short segment. We're going to run a couple commercials. Don Dix from Act for America is with us, and he'll be back with us in just a moment, guys. We'll be back in just a minute.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment, and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. Hey, we're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews. Glad you took the time to join us here. This is our second to the last broadcast of the year. And the way we always like to try to go out with a bang. And what I mean by that is we top off the year by talking about the top stuff that's going on during the course of the year. I was, as I said earlier, spent today on the Jiggy Jaguar show. James Lowe is a host of the Jiggy Jaguar show, and was one of the panel members over there talking about events of the year. Kind of an interesting conversation, and things that I saw. They were asking me, what did you see as the big news of the year? I know everybody's talking about Trump. I think, to me, the big news of the year was that Hillary Clinton is still running for president and is not in jail. That's the big news for me. I don't know how in the world this woman continues to escape the ongoing scandals that her and her husband are involved in. I mean, we're talking about 5 decades, and nobody's been able to pin anything on these people. I think that's newsworthy. So anyway, we have with us Don Dix from Act for America with us, doing his weekly segment with us. He gets to be one of the last contributors for the year. How are you doing tonight, Don?
Well, doing well, and thank you so much for having me on. It's a memorable week for sure, doing recaps of what's gone on this year. It's been quite a year. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you and to your listeners.
Well, you're part of this. I keep getting accolades from all of our people here in the panel. We did a lot this year. We accomplished a lot this year. Started the year out basically from scratch after leaving CPR Media due to a contract dispute, and ended up just starting basically from scratch over and went from 1 affiliate to 8. We went from 10,000 listeners a month to over 1 million this year. So we're doing really well. But you guys are a part of it. You and Karen and Bob Cardoso, and of course Joe, who I wouldn't be able to do anything without Joe these days. I've come to rely on him so much. And as I mentioned earlier, he'll be back next week. He's got the week off. He's been under the weather. And I just told him, you know what, just take the week off. We can handle this. So we were talking about our top 20 here, and I know you understand where I'm coming from, Don, when I say that there doesn't seem to be any difference between Republicans and Democrats anymore. So I kind of combined the two lists together and just said,
it's a great list. You've done a lot of work on this, and there's some great material, great meat in here.
Yeah, well, there was so much to choose from. I felt like a writer at Saturday Night Live. It's like so much material we could work with, and I tried to bring it down to things that related to some of the biggest stories of the year, and some of the things that we really spent time talking about during the year on our show. And where I'm at right now, I'm at number 14 right now, and we're into some of the rhinos right now. We went through the top 5 or the top 6, which were pretty lightweight, really, when you think about it, but. When I'm down here at number 14, I know you have a copy of the list there. This is John Kasich in the first Republican debate. He was asked how he would argue with Clinton, who would probably argue that he was associated with the upper class. A lot of these politicians go into office not having any money and coming out millionaires. In some cases, I guess the Clintons must be approaching billionaire status, according to their foundation. But he used his father to connect to the middle class. He starts the answer off with, let's start off with my father being a mailman. And I'm like, when I heard that, I went, what's that have to do with the question that was just asked? Because he followed it up. It was like, well, because my father was a mailman, I understand the middle class. And I'm like, well, okay, maybe. But don't you think that was kind of a weird way to start that off?
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of weirdness associated with John Kasich's performance during the debates. He didn't do himself really any favors in so many different ways, especially when he tried to, attack some of the other candidates. John John, no doubt has done, I think, in some ways, some good things for his home state, but it really calls into question whether or not he is commander-in-chief material with the way that he handled some of these things. If his father was a mailman, his father was a mailman, and that's all he's got to go to. But there certainly would have been other ways to associate yourself with a connection to the middle class. Mm-hmm. He came from humble roots. Well, so did a lot of other candidates that were sharing the podium, the dais with him that day. But there's so much material about John Kasich, not being presidential material, that this is just the beginning. We could go on for a whole show with that.
Yeah. Do you get the impression? I got the impression from the outset that John Kasich was trying to put himself as one of these guys that could be all things to all people. He's like, I think he was in the beginning just trying to present himself as Jeb Bush without the last name Bush, and he just failed miserably at it, because it seems like all he wanted to do was, whatever his answers were, was always some really ambiguous, generalized statement, never really got down to anything. And I think Trump was very appropriate one time, dressing him down and saying the only reason you've done anything in Ohio is because they discovered oil.
Well, yeah, Trump does have a way to get to the quick of things. But, there's this jungle sort of primary we've had, while we can bemoan the fact that we've got, 17 people to start with, and it's whittling itself down. Compare what the Republicans have to choose from what the Democrats have to choose from. I mean, you had O'Malley just this week at the top story of Drudge. He's sitting across from one person at one of his campaign stops in Iowa. Right. It's really pathetic what's happening on the other side, and they have only themselves to blame, really.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating is out of the four candidates that started this thing, I know this week Jim Webb is floating the idea of running as independent. I don't know if that means anything. Maybe in a close race, if he can pull 2 or 3%, and it might make a difference. But I thought O'Malley, out of the four of them, was the most reasonable.
Well, yeah, you could make that point, especially when comparing him to the socialist Bernie Sanders, who's gotten himself into some trouble this week with some tweets that he put out about what's the difference between forgiving debt on a college education and refinancing a house. I mean, he's comparing interest rates on a secured loan at 3% to an unsecured loan at 8, 9, or 10%. What are you going to do? Repossess the empty brain of someone that just got a degree in sociology that isn't going to be able to go anywhere? I mean,
yeah.
So yeah, we've got hands down a much better field to choose from, including the topic of our moment, which is John Kasich. I would much rather have John than anybody from the left.
Well, I have to say that. I've often said, and I stick to it, the only candidate that would push me into doing something I've never done before and voting for a Democrat would be Jeb Bush. If Jeb Bush was the last man standing, I'd go with the Democrats. And I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen another. Let's go out in a blaze of glory. That's because that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I would. I have been heartily encouraging anybody, no matter who. I mean, no matter whether your candidate makes it into the top or not, you've got to vote Republican. I don't see it any other way than that.
Well,
even if it's Jeb.
Yeah, I understand that, but I couldn't, in good conscience, do it if I thought that the person I was voting for, I'm just voting for the R after their name, and there's nothing that indicates to me they would be even remotely conservative. And that's how I see Jeb Bush. But let's move on to number 13 here, because this is more, I think this is a little bit deeper. This is a topic that we spent a lot of time on this show examining. We exhausted this topic, and that is the funding of Planned Parenthood. And John Kasich, again, showing the moderate side of him, or the Republican side of him, that we hear so often today, in the sense that they've just resigned themselves to the fact that they can't do anything to stop progressivism. And he comes out and he says, this is in one of the other debates, well, I agree that we should defund Planned Parenthood. I don't know how many people in America who don't think that we should. I don't know many people in America who don't think that we should, I guess, fund Planned Parenthood. And in my state, we're trying to figure out how to get it done because we are threatened with the federal government taking all of our Medicaid money away. And to see, this to me is so indicative of what this is where the Republicans have lost their thinking. Why do you think that federal government money is so imperative to what you do in your state? The states have been bought by the federal government. And as a conservative, that should stick up like a red flag to you that, hey, the problem is we're captive to the federal government. There's been other states that have said, we won't take the federal money because we don't want the Planned Parenthood funding here. And just said, we'll give it up. This guy doesn't.
I was just going to say, this is at the heart of so many of the issues that we're pushing back on is the connection between a policy and money from the federal government. It's at the heart of Common Core. It's at the heart of HUD practices that are now influencing the way cities zone themselves because of this new, I think it's called HFA or HFHA. At any rate, it's a new policy by the federal government that says that if you don't have a particular amount of lower income Section 8 type housing, we're going to deny you money. So now the federal government has even leapfrogged over states into city, zoning. So there is so much ill that is at the source of this money. This money should essentially go back to the states in block grants for the states to do whatever they need to do with.
Yeah, well, I think it should be taken a step further, and the agencies that deal with this money should be abolished, and therefore we could decrease the amount of money going into the federal government, which would give the state the ability to say, hey, let's put it on a ballot. This is what we want to do. Let's put it on a ballot. And let the residents of that state determine how much money they're willing to invest in infrastructure or even entitlement programs. I mean, I'm not against entitlement programs if they're voted on. If the people in the state says, yeah, we want this, and they vote on it, and they're willing to fund it, hey, so be it. But when you've got the federal government mandating it, it's a whole different ballgame.
This is the crushing of state sovereignty by the federal government when they dictate policy by attaching the carrot of money. The federal government now dictates everything to the state uniformly across states. And the whole purpose is to have 50 states that self-determine how they're going to, run themselves so that we, the people, can make a decision as to whether or not we want to live in California based on the policies of California or Texas or any other state based on the policies, from taxation to welfare to education. The lines that separate what one state is about from another are becoming so blurred. It's becoming difficult to see, except for, California obviously stands out as a beacon of socialism.
Right. And one of the ironies of this is that this blending, as you said, I think that's a very good term, is this blurring of the lines and everything is kind of coming together. Was this not the argument when Obamacare was being sold to us as a bill of goods, is that, they said, well, the solution is, of course, to let states sell over state lines, and the federal government, we can't do that. That would be interfering with commerce. And I'm like, but everything you guys do interferes with commerce,
Absolutely. And that's where it all started, by the way, with commerce way back in the 30s when they took the right of farmers away to self-determine what they were going to grow and how much they were going to grow. That was the beginning of the destruction based on this interstate commerce clause that the federal government used to wedge its way into state business.
Yeah, but I thought it was just very telling that Kasich was the one that revealed this, and I think it's just so indicative of what we hear from the Republican Party. We don't really have any control over anything, and that's why everything is more or less a foregone conclusion. We'll whine a little bit, but we just end up giving them what they want because there's no other way around it. So let's go on to number 12 here. This was the statement that I guess brought down Kevin McCarthy as the probable replacement for John Boehner as Speaker of the House when he resigned in November of last year. And just a really audaciously stupid thing to say in any context, whether it affected his leadership abilities or his probability to replace Boehner or whatever. Just in light of what was taking place at the very moment that he said this, just a very stupid statement. He said regarding the hearing, the select committee that was hearing on Benghazi, everybody thought Hillary Clinton was unbeatable, right? But we put together a Benghazi special committee, a select committee, and what are her numbers today? In light of where she's at right now, I don't even know where he got off making that kind of statement. What do you think?
Well, I think he missed. I mean, clearly, I understand exactly what he meant. He meant that because of Benghazi and possibly some of the other things that, you could attribute to Hillary Clinton, the email scandal, her Libyan policy, she broke the Middle East, the Russian reset, all that stuff. Because of those things, it's sinking her numbers. But the way that he inartfully put this statement together, he allowed the media to directly link a theory they have that the whole purpose of the Benghazi Special Committee is all about destroying Hillary Clinton, which it's not. I mean, obviously, if they can find, and I think they have, it's just the media hasn't owned up to it. Sort of that proverbial smoking gun that would complete the purpose of the Benghazi Committee, but. That was not the outset. That was not the purpose. The purpose was to find out what happened in Benghazi and fix it.
There's been things that have been said since the hearing with Clinton on Benghazi regarding Trey Gowdy, and it's kind of resurfaced right now because of his endorsement of Marco Rubio, which I do want to get your opinion on here. I got to go to a break, but I want you to think about this during the break, Don, when we come back. Do you think the timing of McCarthy's statement in this context actually hurt or maybe hindered Trey Gowdy from going after Hillary Clinton the way he originally wanted to? And I want you to think about that, and I'll let you answer that when we get back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Right now it's time for Moments of Madness. We'll be right back. Today on Moments of Madness. An article posted at Bloomberg by Jonathan Bernstein entitled "The Trump Effect Begins to Hit Congress" illustrates very well that what is at stake in the upcoming 2016 general election is not about the GOP's concern about who they will oppose in the Oval Office, but whether or not they have a majority that allows them to protect their individual posts. Bernstein very accurately points out that whether or not Trump magically transforms into the hybrid conservative moderate formerly known as a rhino, the GOP still stands to lose in those demographics they are working so hard to win over through their continual compromise with Obama's agenda to fundamentally transform the United States of America due to Trump's unwillingness to tone his rhetoric and instead fall in line behind the bonerized yes men that rule today's establishment. But that's not all. While the GOP tries their best to convey all they need to return America to the GOP platform they themselves have dismantled plank by plank is control of the executive branch, it is quite obvious even if a real conservative like Ted Cruz, himself a member of their most sought-after demographic, should be the last candidate standing, they fear losing the stability that defines the establishment they have worked decades to create in the House and Senate. Here's the madness. The bottom line is, it is not the future of America that is at stake. It's their jobs. The likes of Donald Trump or Ted Cruz in the White House threaten those jobs. Winning to today's GOP elite is more about the individual security that comes from holding a position that equates intelligence and skill with esteem and pay while exhibiting no qualifications for the job whatsoever. We know this because the current list of establishment elites seeking the White House remain at the bottom of the pond with popularity numbers between 0 and 3%. Yet they are still the ones the media flock to and the left exhorts when upper-tier candidates like Trump or Cruz comment on the weather in hope of rising from the bottom to the top of the cesspool they thrive in. When the best you can do is whine about today's political landscape while at the same time lamenting that which once was, who cares what John Kasich thinks about legislative reform? When the best you can refer to is a past that fades like a Clinton scandal, who cares if Jeb Bush tells you he can fix what he and his family helped break?
When you do not even have a number that registers on the scale, who cares what Lindsey Graham believes is good foreign policy? In fact, who cares what Graham thinks about anything except maybe his choice of wine? It remains to be seen whether or not the GOP knocks over the chessboard by forcing a brokered convention next year in hope of getting their choice on the ballot, because they know they are about to lose to the new kid in the class. But one thing is certain. Regardless of how the rules are changed, everyone knows who the brats are, and everyone knows class is about to be dismissed. Maybe, just maybe then, these elites can take the position they are most qualified for, janitor sweeping the floors of the halls of Congress. This is John Matthews for Moments of Madness.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
And we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hickles, who's off this week. He'll be back next week with us. We have Don Dix with us from Act for America. He's helping me fill out our top 20 liberal rhino quotes for 2015, and I wanted to I know Don has something he wants to contribute to this, but I want to get back to this one question here because there was so much being said about the fact that everybody really thought during this Benghazi hearing that took place with Hillary Clinton that Gowdy was really going to go to town on her and just really burn her to a crisp. And it seems like to me, just speculation on my part, that the timing of Kevin McCarthy's comments about the fact, or he was implying that the Benghazi, or it was taken, let's say it was taken out of context, that the Benghazi committee was put together to bring down Hillary Clinton in 2016 rather than really find out what happened in Benghazi, that the timing of that perhaps neutralized Gowdy. Maybe he didn't have the same gumption to go after her, or the same, it neutralized him. What do you think about that, Don?
Well, I think, timing is everything. And, well, first of all, regarding, Gowdy, you made the comment about Gowdy endorsing Rubio. It makes you wonder if Gowdy got those pictures back that they were holding over his head, because that doesn't make sense to me. I mean, Gowdy endorsing Rubio, the timing of that. This Benghazi thing would have been fait accompli by now if the State Department had been forthcoming with all the material that Gowdy was after.
Yeah, I agree, because it seems like they really tried to employ the same tactics of spinning it first, saying they didn't know, and then it wasn't their job, and then they didn't do. It was like it was everybody blaming the other person, and nobody really even understanding what was supposed to be happening. It seems like that there was not only just a breakdown in protocol, but in understanding what the rules were. I get the impression that some of these people don't even know how to handle things like classified information and things like that. So,
well, they don't. And we're talking about the State Department. I have something that I think that your listeners will be interested in regarding the State Department, since we're kind of doing a year in review. John Kerry just came out with a tweet defending one of the claims. Now, we do this year in review. The State Department is doing their own year in review, and they've got something called the Pivotal Foreign Policy Moments of 2015, kind of their accomplishments list. And one of the things that John Kerry was defending, one of the items on this list, which has to do with Syria, their very last item on this list of accomplishments is bringing peace and security to Syria. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that alone is a head turner.
Yeah.
But then you have John Kerry coming out and defending the claim in a tweet. And at the source of this is the ultimate job of deceptive wordsmithing. So Kerry is claiming the key here is bringing, not brought. As in, they're in the process of bringing peace. They've started the peace process, but they haven't quite accomplished it. So this now makes the list of the State Department's list of accomplishments, which directly ties back into the Hillary Clinton conversation we were just having, because no longer is our State Department really doing our State Department has become a political arm of the executive office.
Right.
Now, I just led me to think that by Kerry's definition, if you can count an accomplishment of bringing peace and security to Syria, which clearly does not exist, I mean, in no way or shape or form can you say that our State Department has brought peace and security to Syria. But using Kerry's definition, I thought I'd just have a little fun. I'm going to make some personal wins for 2015 of myself using his definition. So by Kerry's definition, I've now become a millionaire because I'm bringing in income. Therefore, I'm in the process of becoming a billionaire. I'm in the process of becoming Mr. Olympia since I started bringing increased physical activity to my routine in 2015. I'm on my way now to being Mr. Olympia. And I've also taken a few people to lunch over the past year. So now I'm in the process of ending world hunger. I just, when you go through this list, now that's one of the things that stands out on this list, but you're going to love some of the other things. One of their accomplishments, John, the strongest climate agreement ever negotiated out of Paris.
Yeah.
Well, they negotiated a climate agreement that nobody signed on to, that nobody can be held accountable to, that has all sorts of expectations that we're not bound to, and yet they've completed this agreement. Another big hit is, of course, they've opened the door to free trade with their Trans-Pacific Partnership. We know all about the evils in that. They've also, now this is a list of accomplishments. When you make a list of accomplishments, it's things you've done. One of the things they have on their list of accomplishments, John, committing to ambitious development goals. I didn't know an accomplishment was merely making an ambitious development goal. This is so bizarre. Literally you get whiplash as you're going through this list. Of course, they list here the Iran peaceful nuclear program is ensured, protecting the Arctic climate and communities of the Arctic, winning. Now, this one I love. Winning the fight against violent extremists. What in the world? They're saying because they've convened these conferences that now that entitles them to list as their accomplishment winning the fight against against violent extremists. Of course, we all know what that means. It's ISIS, but they've included in their goal that they're winning the fight against violent extremists on the heels of what happened in our own community here in San Bernardino. They're not winning that fight. They're delusional if they think that they're winning the fight against Islamic extremism, of which that's a part of violent extremism.
Well,
so I just thought I'd throw that in because
they're trying to toe the talking points of this administration that Obama, keeps playing out is that, putting boots on the ground is not the way to beat ISIS. And if you guys are just patient with my leading from behind tactics here, eventually this is all going to play out into our favor. It seems like that's the end game here. It's just kind of trying to reinforce what Obama's been saying. It's everybody else that's wrong about my foreign policy. I've got it down. I know where it's going. I know it's going to work. It sure sounds like that.
Well, what the Obama administration, of course, the last year, the lame duck, they're trying to solidify Obama's legacy. And so their view is the more they repeat these stupid list of talking points, the more us idiots out there in America are going to finally wake up and go, oh, I get it, and roll over. It's just absurd that they're parroting this stuff. And as I said, the State Department, based on this, is now clearly the political arm of the administration in implementing their agenda and ensuring Obama's legacy when he completes his presidency.
As so many other the bureaucratic institutions in the government have done, it seems to me that the CBO, even the CBO, has become a political arm of this administration. Sure. We got to go to a break here. When we come back, we're going to continue with Don Dix, and we're going to try to get the rest of our top 20 in here. If we don't, we'll do it tomorrow, because tomorrow I'll have Karen Sigmund with me to help us close out 2015. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
And we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate. I want to remind everybody you can pick up this show and any of our shows at our archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, theconservativesyndicate.net. We have Don Dix with us, Act for America. We're going to try to move through our list here, the top 20 liberal/rhino quotes for 2015. I'm at a number 11 right now. I find this one just the fact that it deals with Planned Parenthood on one hand, but the manipulation, deconstructionism, and redefinition, things that we've talked about a lot during the course of this year, how liberals deconstruct arguments and then redefine the terms under which an argument is normally presented. Empirical evidence means nothing anymore. It's all about emotions and feelings. And here we are with Cecile Richards, the head of Planned Parenthood. This is in light of the scandal that broke this year, the harvesting of baby organs for profit, in spite of everything that they're saying. I believe they finally said they're not taking fees anymore, or they're not making money anymore. They somehow, I forget how they worded it, but they came out. First they said, we never did that from profit. Now they're saying that, we stopped that. And so that's liberal. Oh, we've stopped it. We apologize for it, and therefore it's supposed to be all right. But here we go. Number 11, this is Cecile Richards. I do think it's time for people in this country, elected officials, leaders, people who want to be president of the United States, to really think carefully about the way they talk about health care providers. I guess she's referring to Planned Parenthood in this country, the way they demonize women and the decisions they make about their pregnancies. I think it's time for everyone to take stock of that, because I do believe words have consequences. My first thought when I heard this, Don, was, yeah, words do have consequences. When you lie and you're caught lying, there should be consequences. But with liberals these days, that doesn't seem to be imperative. It doesn't seem to be essential to what people are saying.
Well, let's never let words get in the way of agendas. The whole thing about abortion in this country has been the redefinition of words, of babies in the womb into fetal tissue matter. There's a whole catalog of words that Planned Parenthood has used to separate the reality that life if they discovered a one-cell organism on Mars, you know what the headline would be? Life discovered on Mars.
Right. Exactly. That's a good point. Very good point.
And yet we struggle in this country with the issue of describing a baby inside the womb as life. They have successfully changed the language. The political correctness. A lot of your list really comes down to the agenda of political correctness in this country, redefining words, redefining meanings. And so when they say that we're demonizing women because of the health decisions that they make, a health decision for a woman, yes, there are pregnancies where the life of the mother is in jeopardy based on the pregnancy. There are situations where abortion medically may be the best decision in light of the health of the mother. Right. But a health decision is not convenience for the mother because I'm not old enough to have this baby and it's going to destroy my life. You know what? Both you and the father made a decision one night in the back of a Studebaker with a bottle of wine or whatever it was. You made a decision that led to life. You need to deal with the consequences of that decision and not take it out on the unborn child that you're carrying. There are options. I know many people. We have very close to our family people that had that life choice and made the right choice, and now they are blessed with these wonderful lives that they have. Yes, it changed the course of their life. They became parents. Were they ready for it? No. Who's really ever ready for parenthood? Let me ask you that.
In fact, even after we get through it, sometimes we're wondering, how did I make it?
Yeah. So this is one of the demons that America wrestles with, that the church, and this gets back to one of the things I know we've talked about on your show, the fact that the church bears some responsibility in this area because they've stepped back from the public square because they're not supposed, they feel they're not supposed to engage politically. You know what? When life of a baby becomes a political volleyball, the church better stand up. It better stand in the public square and defend the life that we're supposed to take as sacred territory, really.
Oh, amen to that. And we've recounted a couple stories just in the last couple of months. The lady over in England who had her baby aborted after the baby was born because it had to do with the time frame, something about the fact that the abortion was unsuccessful. The baby was born, and the child was 6 months old, and she actually got a court order that she could have terminated the life of that baby because the doctors failed to abort it while it was in the womb. Now, the baby was not killed, but she did get a court order to be able to do that. Or like last week, we were just talking about the lawsuit that's going on with a surrogate mother who decided not to have one of her twins aborted because the people she was carrying the baby for said, we didn't want twins. And so they said, you have to abort one of the babies. And she said, I'm not aborting either one, and I'm not giving you either one. And so now there's a big lawsuit over that. So this is what happens when you start playing God and start trying to determine when life begins. So, yeah, it's some
You're
nasty
absolutely right.
stuff.
This is the slippery slope that this whole thing back in the 70s took us down. And, so much more. Of course, this year we had the decision on same-sex marriage. So this is all part of the slippery slope that our culture is taking us down, and it's very disheartening. Yes, it is, and that's why I brought up the story at the beginning of this hour about the rape of the basketball player by his teammates. You know, when we say it's okay to go into whatever bathroom you want to go into and stuff like that, you're licensing this type of behavior. Now, people say, well, that's extreme. No, it isn't. When you're telling adolescents that there is no gender difference, there is no privacy, there is no modesty or anything like that, you're licensing this stuff, and then you're promoting homosexuality in the schools. When's the last time I've never heard of 3 athletes raping another athlete? It's like, where did that come from? That's what's going on. Unfortunately, Don, we are out of time. We're not going to get past the top 10. But I appreciate your input here with the ones that we did get. I wanted to give you time to plug your show and your organization, Act for America. Well, thank you so much. I'm on a daily talk show that airs in Southern California on the Salem Network, specifically AM 590. It's the Jen and Don Show, and you can go to AM 590, theanswer.com and look up podcasts there. And also the topic, national security, that got me engaged in politics and in the fight to save our country, which is Act for America. Go to actforamerica.org, learn more about the organization, get involved in issues relating to our national security, and I just appreciate the opportunity to share this time with you, Joe.
All right, Don, I appreciate it. And
John
we're
and
looking
Joe.
forward to it.
Tell Joe I said Happy New Year when you talk to him.
Yeah, and we got a great year coming up next year. Let's see if we can salvage what's left of this Republican Party and perhaps even save the nation, for crying out loud. Thanks so much. I'll be talking to you soon.
Happy New Year, John.
All right. God bless. Okay, guys, we're done for the night, and we'll be back tomorrow. Karen Sigmund from Rage Against the Media will be joining me, and we'll finish off our top 10 here. We'll start at number 10 and work down, and then we have our top 10 conservative quotes for the year. So tune in. Remember to visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. God bless you all. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all of our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's the conservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best and uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, signing off until next time, right here on the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.